What do you think the true cost of this is? And let's try to have as honest a conversation as we can. The administration thinks this is actually costless. The CBO doesn't agree, and Russ clearly doesn't agree.
Look, CBO has said that the bill is very nearly paid for under their scoring mechanisms over the next 10 years. There is a debate about exactly how much the tax gap, the difference between taxes owed and taxes actually paid, will come down as a result of increased enforcement. The difference is actually quite small. And under CBO scoring, the bill is most certainly paid for over probably 11 years. Under Treasury scoring, the bill is paid for over 10 years. And even under CBO scoring, the difference is a minuscule 0.1% of GDP. So well within the margin of error of scoring. So, we can debate sort of these finer points of scoring, or we can talk about the really important provisions that are in this bill and what those provisions will do for the American people.
Russ, I believe that you think not only is this not free, but this is going to cost trillions.
I do. This is going to be a $5 trillion bill. Those on the outside who have looked at this that are not governed by the requirements of what CBO has to do, which is to look at the four corners of a legislation, say this is between $4.6 and $5 trillion. Look, the reason why this looks artificially low right now is because there are sunsets in the bill as if these policies are going to go away in 1-3 years. This bill increases the deficit in the first 5 years by upwards of $800 billion, and there's an expectation that the political class is somehow going to sunset these new entitlements and these new government expansions, and we just know that that never happens.
Sharon, what do you make of the idea that this is a Trojan horse? That, sure, maybe your math looks right at the outset here, but it won't look right if you continue some of these programs after 3 or 4 years?
Let's be really clear what the bill does. The bill makes a set of investments, and the policymakers that are supporting this bill have a set of offsets, and they committed to paying for the bill. There are things that sunset. I would note that the lion's share of individual tax cuts in the 2017 tax law also sunset, but there was no attempt to pay for that bill. This bill, policymakers did pay for it. When those programs expire, policymakers in the country will have a choice. Are those policies working for the American people? What are their costs? What are their benefits? And should they be continued? And should they be offset? But what this bill does is say, here's a set of investments. Here's a set of ways to pay for them. Some of them are temporary. And when they are expired, when they come up for expiration, the question will be, do policymakers and the public think that they are worthy of being extended? But those same policymakers that demanded these programs be offset this time can very well decide to offset them next time. And in fact, there are an enormous number of offsets readily available. A lot of revenues were left on the table in this package, and there is every opportunity to pay for their extensions. I will just note that people that are saying, oh my gosh, things are sunsetting, are often the same people that supported the 2001 tax cuts and the 2017 tax cuts that expired all of the tax provisions, or nearly all of the tax cuts in the case of 2017 for households. So I guess one question
let me get Russ back in here. Russ, I'm never a believer in two wrongs make a right, but there is a point, and I think Democrats make it regularly. They say, well, our program, you may not like our program, but guess what? The Republicans were willing to overspend over here.
Yeah, I think the sheer dishonesty about sunsetting something after 1 year and sunsetting it much closer to the 10-year window needs to be taken into account. But I don't disagree with the notion that we believe, on the basis of the left versus the right, we believe that there's a fundamental difference between policies oriented towards creating economic growth that causes all tides to rise versus individual spending programs that create a drain on the economy, and we treat those things fundamentally different.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.